Yeah, pretty much. And I don't get it. How can they say that Machi did it? Looks like we need a bit more information. Very well, the defense may begin the cross-examination. Murderous circumstances. The night of the murder, I was on security backstage at Prosecutor Gavin's request. Only people involved in the concert somewhere were allowed backstage. At the beginning of the third set, I heard shots. I went into the room, filled with blaring rock music. Okay, here's the first problem I have with this. Machi was on stage playing with the band during this. Hold it. Rock? Blaring, yes. When you say rock, are you referring perhaps to this rock and roll music that's so popular these days? That's right. When we went into the dressing room, music was blaring over the speaker on the wall. They piped sound from the stage into the backstage to speakers. That way people in the back can hear when they're supposed to be on stage. Did it have to be so loud? You don't listen to the Gaviners with your ears. You feel it with your entire body and soul. I always had the backstage Marlanders at full volume. When we walked in the room, the band was playing Guilty Love, I believe, making it easy to determine the time of the crime. You can hear the music playing, then everyone on stage for that song has an alibi, including myself. Anyway, I closed off the scene and started my investigation. I examined the scene around and determined only the defendant could have done it. You did not know that. How could you know something like that? As I said, it was clear from the circumstances. Listen, we know there was only one exit from the room, that door. Small window only opened a tiny crack, and I was standing in front of that door. So how could the killer have fled the scene? Only one possibility, the air vent. Ah. But the air vent was too small, who could possibly? Exactly. There's certainly no way you could get through, nor me. The only one who could fit through was a child. Child. Remember, access to those rooms was limited. Only those involved with the concert were allowed. And of all the people involved with the concert, only one is small enough to be considered a child. The defendant. The pixie of the arpeggio flitted up toward the sky and disappeared from the scene of the crime. But that's just conjecture. Oh, there was no other way out of that room. You were there, you should know, Air Forehead. And there is another vital piece of evidence. Evidence? What? Marks were found in the air vent grill. Traces that it had recently been opened. Wait, what? And something else was found, quite clearly. The defendant, Machi Tobai's fingerprints. What? Order, order, order! The air vent was the only way out of the room. The defendant's fingerprints were found on the grill. Well, Air Forehead, what fairy tale does this suggest to you? Only one passed through that vent, the doorway to heaven, and that one is our pixie. Why are you looking at me, Apollo? Hey, I was out to the audience. This was his decisive evidence. Quite decisive indeed. I know the circumstances under which the body was found. I was there. An examination of the crime scene was enough to nail down the killer? I'm sure they have a good reason. They must have had a good reason to arrest Machi, and I'm gonna find out what it was. The night of the murder, I was on security backstage at Prosecutor Gavin's request. Why were you requested? The night of the murder was the night of the concert, yes?
That's right, you were there. What was the detective doing on security detail, might I ask? If it was only a concert. My thoughts exactly. But orders are orders, even when they come from rock gods. Prosecutor Gavin? Yes, allow me to explain. I smelled something that day, you might say, the stench of conspiracy. That day at the concert hall. Conspiracy? Wasn't it obvious? My keys, the whole morning, no, my whole day was ruined. And it's all because someone stole my keys. I couldn't ride my hog to the show. I couldn't open my guitar case. There he goes again. Isn't it possible he simply misplaced them? Misplaced them? Misplaced items don't wander in a murder victim's hand on their own. What's this? Prosecutor Gavin, if your keys were in the victim's hand, that makes you a prime suspect. Dun 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 dun. Of course not, though. Love, slow acting and new, intricate, is waiting for you. Singing something. Does everything with this guy have to be so over the top? The killing happened in the middle of my concert. I was, like a sailor, adrift over a sea of sound. Anyway, I didn't want anything else stolen. So I put the detective with the most time on their hands on the task. I believe there's not enough of that. The prosecution has a rather convincing case. The only way in and out of the crime scene was watched, making the defendant the only one who could possibly leave the scene. Simple and decisive. Ugh. I believe we've heard enough to determine our verdict, even if I wasn't in a hurry to make a hospital visit. I'm sure that Chief Justice will appreciate the gesture. Unfortunately, we have no direct witness. Fortunately, the criminal left decisive evidence for us. That'll be enough. Can't it be over already? Very well, I believe this trial is finished. The defense has no contradicting evidence. The prosecution has presented our proof, clear and plain. If you have a contradicting evidence, it'd be better to clear and plain. Apollo, they got us on the ropes already. We've barely been 5 minutes. I know. What can I get out of this? It's likely he was already in there. We need evidence or a witness. We must bring in Glamour. Mr. Justice, do you have a contradicting proof that could overturn the prosecution's case? If you do, you'd better tell us about it now. This is it, and so soon. If I mess this one up, it'll be all over. The court wants the contradicting proof? I call a witness! Prosecutor Gavin, you claim that there was no witnesses to this crime. Are you absolutely sure? Absolutely. I'd swear on my career as a prosecutor. And on my million-seller hit song, Antraquinin, my love. There he goes again. That's too bad, because there was a witness. Oh, really now? But how did you come to possess knowledge the prosecution clearly does not? Because I am the only one in the world who knows this. What's going on? I just talked to him and now... He's alive!
Mr. Lataus, can you hear me?
Cold. So cold.
Witness. Colt, don't worry, you're gonna be fine. Help is on the way. Yeah, see. Hang in there. Mr. Lataus, tell me, who was the witness?
Witness. Siren.
What? The victim said this before he died? Perhaps he did, and perhaps he did not. What do you mean by that? All we know is what Air Forehead says he did. It's no testimony, especially since it comes from the defense attorney himself. But it's the truth. He said it. I even told you about it. But apparently you ignored me completely. It's my policy to fully investigate everything I deem relevant. Clearly his rookie lawyer thinks he can tell me how to do my job. That's enough. Mr. Justice, we need clear contradictory proof from you. This witness of yours, unknown to the prosecution. I hope you're right. Failure carries a stiff penalty. Perhaps a stiffer penalty than usual is called for. No backing out now. Let's hear the name of your witness, Mr. Justice. Lamoureux. Lamoureux? Recall Mr. Lataus' last words.
The siren.
The siren. Aha! He meant the siren. That's right, the siren of the ballad. Lamoureux. Lamoureux was only on stage for the second set. And she had access to the backstage area. She could have been a witness. I see. Well, Prosecutor Gavin, my claim still stands. There was no witness to this crime. Very well. Let's hear it from the horse's mouth again, shall we? We will now take a break from Detective Sky's cross-examination. Please show Lamoureux the witness stand. Not today, though. Today we'll drag the story out of her no matter what it is. It is my distinct honor to welcome the Siren of the Ballad to our courtroom. You're too kind. You can speak English? Yes, yes I can. Though I'm not very good. Therefore, there's much I do not know. You speak so well. Have you spent time here before? Actually, I do not know how I came by my knowledge of your language, nor where I studied it. What does she mean? She doesn't know. I too thought I could call her as witness, but I did not. I had a reason, of course. What's that? Lamroar suffers from amnesia. Amnesia? Lamroar is not my true name, yet I remember nothing of the time before I was given it. Nothing of the time before I started singing on the stage. Whoa, she's even more mysterious than I thought. It's fake. As lauded singer Lamroar, she lives a good life. There are little difficulties from her, thanks to her success. Yet I did not wish to subject her to unnecessary stress. I see. I care surprisingly little about people's pasts. You have nothing to fear in this court, Lamroar. Thank you. If there's something I do not understand, I'm being called as a witness? What might I say? No one will tell me anything of what happened. Lamroar, let me be frank. Oh, my game muted. I'm sorry. I did not want to ask you here to testify. Yet that young gentleman with the wide forehead over there was adamant that you stand. Oh my. Congratulations, Apollo. You're the bad guy. Well, now that you're here, please give us your testimony. If nothing else, the sound of your voice is welcome. Tell us what you saw the night of the crime. Witness testimony, what I saw. As for what I saw nothing. Bullshit. That night, I was invited to sing on stage, and thus I did. I did not return backstage after this, like I said. What's this brooch? You were back there! You were back there! And I was led by the police to Mr. Gavin's dressing room and told to wait there. That was where I learned something that had happened, but I wasn't told the details. It's actually clicking my volume. Sorry for the stutter. Bullshit. I must say, you sound wonderful just testifying. I hope he was too distracted to hear what she was actually saying. There you have it. She saw nothing that night. Now we can only pray that the defense has the sense to admit defeat and refrain from detaining her any longer than needed be. Wow, you just got badder, Apollo. Way to go. Very well, Mr. Justice. Keep it short and sweet. You can't understand me? Okay. This microphone does that sometimes. Just know something. I've got to find out what. What I saw. That's what I saw. I saw nothing. That night I was invited to sing on stage, and this I did. I did not return after backstage after this. All. Yeah. I'm sorry, Lamroar, but I'm having trouble believing you. You remember this brooch, do you not? Why, that's Lamroar's. She was wearing it for her song. Care to add that to the testimony, Prosecutor Gavin? What? This brooch was found after the murder took place. Thank you for following, Minnie. At the very scene of the crime. What? Lamroar, how did your brooch get backstage if you did not go there by yourself? And as Prosecutor Gavin has told us, you have been wearing it during your performance that night. What is the meaning of this? Lamroar, please explain. Lamroar? She says English is quite difficult. That trick's not gonna work here. Your forehead may be large, but you are a lawyer, truly. But you have missed one important fact. What now? In fact, at the time of the incident, I went backstage, but only for a moment. What? Speak English, girl. Think back to the moment of the crime. You know whereof I speak. She's really saying all that? What's she talking about, Apollo? Right when the incident occurred? Ah! She's talking about that? Watch this room for me. I have to call for backup. Right, understood. You want me to make sure no one comes in, right? Mr. Lataus, can you hear me? Witness. Oh, don't worry. You're gonna be fine. On the way, the witness is Siren. Siren? How could a siren witness anything? Yipes, Emma! What's that? Who's there? What's wrong? Emma, did you see anyone just now? No. I could have sworn I heard the door close. I looked into the room. Just a glance, mind you. So this is when your brooch was dropped. That's bullshit, because I found that brooch before that happened. It does. There was no other time I could have dropped it. That's ridiculous. You looked in for an instant, but you dropped your brooch? Forehead. She has raised the possibility. The only thing that can counter that is evidence. So she looked at the crime scene. Actually, I intended to go into the dressing room. I knew nothing of what had happened, of course. But the moment I opened the door, I heard a horrible voice. Forehead shouting, "Who's there?" No doubt. A horrible voice indeed. I closed the door immediately. Let's return to your testimony. That's too convenient. She's hiding something. Lamroy, you did look into the room though, right? Yes. Testify as to what you saw. Very well, though it was only the briefest of glimpses. When my performance was finished, I went backstage for just a moment. I saw nothing. The late House's body was behind a wall. I saw nothing. Late Matthäus's body. A facial twitch. Game's popping. Let's watch her eyes. Something's not right. I know it. Do that again, I'm sorry. The late Latouse's body.
Gotcha!
You may have seen the world, but I've seen your heart. You were flustered during your testimony just now. I do not understand what it is you were saying. Perhaps it's a joke in your culture? Doesn't seem very flustered. Oh man, I got it wrong. I know. She was not behind a wall though. Where could it be? Breasts. Yes, that's where it would be. A throat. We need to find something that moves when she says the wall. Again. Her hair? That's interesting. I'll look. Wait, I think I saw something, maybe? Mr. Latouse's body. I need more time. The veil, maybe? Look at her mouth, though.
Gotcha!
God damn it. That isn't right.
Hold it!
A wall? Was there a wall there? Is what in English? A division or a partition, I believe. There's a large dressing room divided in two halves. And the murder took place in the inside half. I guess that partition might have hidden the body. Maybe I had to press her first. Wait!
Gotcha!
That's what it was. Doesn't move her mouth. The late Mr. Latouse's body, you say? Yes. You know something more about Mr. Latouse's death than you are saying. What? I could see you trying not to remember, but the effort made you swallow. You can't fool my eyes. It is true. It was so terrible after all. Why did Mr. Latouse have to die? Be shot? One moment, Lemroy. Yes? What was that you just said? Why did Mr. Latouse have to be shot? Yes? She was hiding something, I knew it. Lemroy, I'm afraid you haven't realized it, but your words just now contradict your testimony. Huh? How could that be? Take this! She contradicted her own testimony. You have evidence to prove it. I do? There's no way she could have seen it. Also, it's the emulator doing that popping there. But I think this is it. I do not misunderstand the meaning of contradiction. I guess not. Jesus. Jesus. Gun. Oh, you want to try the gun? Okay. Nope, not the gun. Broach, spam all the things. The mixing board. The keys. The autopsy report. The crime photo. Tell me, Lamroy, how did he know he had been shot? Immediately following the incident, a gag order was placed on the scene. This is the document providing that. In your testimony, you told the court, no one told me anything about the incident. Furthermore, you testified that you had seen nothing. Yet you know that Mr. Litthouse had been shot. How could you have known? Yeah! The badge! Yes, the badge did it. Lemuror! You aren't hiding something from this court, I hope. That sweet song of hers was sounding a little too sweet. Now I remember. Please, allow me to add to my testimony. Of course, all we want to know is the truth. So you look kind of pale, huh? Even the victim said so. I saw bullet holes in the wall and knew Mr. Litthouse had been shot. No way! Because I know you were over here, so of course you saw the bullets, but if we think you were here...
Objection!
Lemuror, they call you the Siren of the Ballad. But lies are hardly becoming of such a creature. A put-down worthy of our prosecutor, Mr. Justice. Such put-downs are hardly becoming of you, Apollo. Stop polishing your forehead and start polishing your character, yeah? Come on, can't I be cool for once? Observe the diagram. Lemuror, you looked in from the door for just a moment. Correct? Yes, that is so. There were bullet holes in the room, yes. But they were in the wall and the door is on. You see? Assuming you merely glanced in the room. You couldn't have seen those bullet holes. Yeah! Lemuror. Yes? I'm afraid the defense has raised a good point. It appears you have been holding back something. And I must tell you? I must tell you what it is I saw? Yes. The happenings in this trial are being recorded. I am certain it will be in the news in Virginia. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past Siren to lie either. You understand your reputation is at stake. It falls on to you to avoid tarnishing it. Personally speaking, I still believe that cross-examining her will yield us absolutely nothing. Oops. But she knew how Mr. Litthouse died, and he named her a witness. You must have seen something, Lemuror. Very well. Lemuror, please continue your testimony. Very well, I shall. What I Saw, Part 2. I was on my way from the stage backstage. There was something like a little window there. That's how I saw it. There were 2 shots. I couldn't do anything to stop it. But it wasn't Machi. It was a grown person. I know it was. So you did witness the crime, and the killer was a grown person, you say? This is my first time hearing this, I assure you. Nice play, Forehead. Very well, Mr. Justice, you may begin your cross-examination. Great going, Apollo. You were right about Lemuror. What's wrong? You don't look too happy. This whole thing smells fishy. That's what's wrong. Huh? What I Saw, Part 2. I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. There was something like a little window there. That's how I saw it. There were 2 shots. I couldn't do anything to stop it. But it wasn't Machi. It was a grown person. I know it was. Really? A grown person? That's a little vague. I'm sorry. My skill with your language is lacking, you know. Certainly you could at least see whether the shooter was male or female. It was a man, a young man. And you're sure of that? Yes, his voice was quite clear. Voice? Looking at this diagram, it seems the dressing room was quite cluttered. It does seem likely that you wouldn't have had a clear view of the shooter. As a singer, I rely more on my ears than my eyes. When I hear a voice, I do not forget it. That voice was the voice of a man. So you heard a voice, but wait. Couldn't that have been the victim, Mr. Litthouse? Absolutely not. Did I not just say it? I do not forget a voice. If it was Mr. Litthouse who spoke, I would have known. You're buffering? Oh boy. Indeed. So you were at the window, and you heard the shooter's voice, the voice of a young man. Apollo, this is a good testimony. That proves it wasn't Machi. Indeed. If this turns out to be true, it would cast this case in a considerably different light. What is the defense's opinion on this testimony? It's bull. It pains me to say this. There's something about Lamoureux's testimony that rings false. Bravo, Air Forehead. You're colder than I thought. I'm sure you remember what the problem is as well as I do, Gavin. As has been established, no grown man could pass through that air vent. He couldn't have fled the scene of the crime. Yup, I think she's the killer. But that means Lamoureux has to be lying. I know, and I know it's bad for our case, but I can't shut my eyes to this. Believe me, the idea was tempting. It is as Air Forehead says. Yet, this is not the only contradiction within her testimony. What's next? What's he talking about? Lamoureux. I understand why you would want to protect Machi. Yet remember, you are the siren of the ballad. And lies do not become such a creature. What does that prosecution mean? Apollo, what's he talking about? No one bats an eye when he says stuff like that. I recall the state of the crime scene very well. The state of the room? Yes, and when the murder took place, that window was closed. I find it hard to believe you could hear a voice through it. What? But I'm sure. Lamoureux, I have nothing but the highest regard for your musical sense. But my opinion you as a witness is somewhat lesser. But she's the only eyewitness we have.
Objection!
So you say. And the victim named her the Siren as the witness? That's right. That's what Mr. Latas. We heard your claim. We even entertained the possibility. And it brought us to this. Judge. Yes? The prosecution requests that the witness be excused. Please. I'm afraid I must honor the prosecution's request. There is indeed a question of the witness's credibility. But if Lamoureux cannot testify, then we don't have a chance of proving Amachi's innocence. Cross-examination is over. Prosecutor Gavin, you must continue making your case. Dank. Now where were we? Oh yes. I would like to hear from Foreland Detective again. Wait, let me hear Lamoureux's testimony one last time. But the cross-examination is already over. Until such a time as the need arises, this witness may leave the stand. I'm sorry I could not be of more assistance. At last, back to the real trial. Ready, Air Forehead? Donk must mean thank you. Probably. I hope I didn't miss my only chance. Foreland Detective, how far have we gotten until we were so rudely interrupted? Don't ask me! I dislike saying the same thing twice. And I never repeat a song for an encore. If you would, Miss Sky. I believe I was saying that the only way Mr. Latas' killer could have escaped was through that air vent on the ceiling. Ah yes, there was only one door in the room, and a witness, you, was standing in front of it. That air vent wasn't very big, you see. Kind of limits the people who could possibly get through. I certainly would have a difficult time. You sure would. Not that you would have been there in the first place, though. Remember, the whole backstage area was off limits to people not involved with the concert. The only one who meets the conditions for our killer is the defendant. That's a very trust of performance. I couldn't have put it better myself. She does state a clear case. Though reading the report, something caught my eye. Oh, what's that? The circumstances of the defendant's arrest. The circumstances? Again? Hey, that's right, Apollo. Remember when we found Machi? That was bizarre. She's right. Why did Mr. Latas' body disappear from the room and end up on top of the stage tower? Holding a guitar, no less. A perception observation, Judge. Thanks. It was kind of an accident, really. But you work in this job long enough, you get a nose for things. The judge certainly pleased with himself. Very good, detective. Perhaps you can tie it all together for us. Why was the body moved? How does this lead us to the killer? The missing body. I believe Machi stole the body because of some lyrics. He moved the body to match Lamoureux's song. No one in the country had motive to kill the victim, and Machi practically left his signature at the scene. All of this evidence clearly points to the defendant. Signature was highlighted. I don't like what that meant. Lamoureux's song. Yes, the guitar Serenade. You noticed its code too, did you not? Its code? All the events that day followed the lyrics to our song. First, the keys to my heart were held on to so tightly were stolen. Then Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flame on stage. Mr. Littauss's life was taken by a bullet. The rest hardly needs explanation. Guitar, guitar, up together to the sky. It's mad. It's like a story out of some fairy tale. I'd admit I'd forgotten about the song, but there it is now, waiting for me, the grand finale, as it were. You know, I was the one who first noticed that. I've heard of jumping rope to songs and counting the songs, but killing? It's a wild world out there, Judge. Very well. We've heard one song and dance. Let's get to the next. The cross-examination. Not so sure I should be doing this much singing. A missing body. I'm annoyed about that. About the signature and the lyrics. Yes, there was like signatures. I want to know. What are you talking about? The bullet holes in the wall, of course. The bullet holes? The revolver was fired twice. One shot missed, and one left a hole in the wall. And that means what, exactly? That dressing room isn't exactly spacious. Picture the shooter facing off with the victim in there. They can't have been more than 5 feet apart. It would be difficult, almost impossible to miss at that range. Difficult to miss, you say? Very. Assuming the shooter could properly aim. No, you can't be serious. Machi, he can't see. That's why he missed? It's the only explanation that makes sense. He used sound and other senses to fire the gun. Poorly. That reminds me, the monitor in that room was blaring at the time, yeah? Hardly ideal conditions for tracking by sound. A blind shooter. No wonder he missed. I knew those bullet holes would come back to haunt me. Think, Justice, what do I do now? Objection! Sure, there were bullet holes left in the wall. But that doesn't prove the shooter couldn't see. Oh, how so? Well, there could have been the struggle with the victim. That's certainly possible. And it might have been the revolver's fault. The revolver? The revolver was a very large caliber, correct? If the shooter wasn't used to firing such a large weapon, why, it could dislocate their shoulder. Exactly. The defendant, Machi Tobai, is, as you can see, tiny. It's not so hard to picture him firing the gun and missing entirely. The kickback alone would throw off his arm. A convincing argument, to be sure. Haha, take that, I'm smug prosecution. Apollo? Huh? What? That bit about Machi being tiny. And the gun throwing off his aim? Are you kind of, admitting that he did it? Oh. It does not matter why he missed. What matters is that the shooter was, without a doubt, the defendant. Even the defense seems to agree on that point. Ah! Christ, I really put my foot in this time. Let's get the facts of the matter record. If you would, Foreign Detective. From the state of the crime scene, I conclude the shooter was blind. Blind, eh? Then why was the name rubbed out? The prosecution holds that the shooter couldn't see. A scientific conclusion based on a thorough examination of the crime scene, yes. Apparently not thorough enough. I have certain a piece of evidence that completely overturns your claim. What? This is the evidence! The photograph of the crime scene! I don't care how much the smirk on Prosecutor Gavin's face, but this is no time to think twice. Time to press on. Yes, Your Honor, the crime scene. There is something in here that decisively contradicts the prosecution's point. Then perhaps you'd best show us something. Get your finger out of the breeze to put it to good use, eh? Yeah. Very well, show us what you are talking about, Mr. Justice. The contradiction at the scene of the crime is... This word was rubbed out. The contradiction is right here. The smeared bloodstains. I thought it was just my blurry vision, but it really was blurry. The way the victim's hand is raised above his head, much like a gesture I have seen many times in this court. It's almost as if he wrote something. I get it. At least I think I get it. Get what, Fräulein? When Mr. Taus was shot, he tried to write something. And what would he write but the shooter's name? And what would he write in it but his own blood? Pretty good, huh? Thanks for making my point for me. Yes, in fact, that's what I think happened here. That does seem to be a distinct possibility. The victim wrote the killer's name. It's certainly a logical conclusion. Drat, I just wish it wasn't all rubbed out like that. Of course it's rubbed out. Why, if I were a killer, I certainly wouldn't want to leave my own name behind. Neither would I. No one has anything else to say? About what? So the prosecution accepts this. You agree that this was the victim attempt to record the name of the killer? And that the killer tried to rub the name out? What's your point? What's my point? Let me ask you this. How did the killer know the victim was writing their name? Well, Mr. Taus was writing something in blood. Once the killer saw what it was... Wait. Once he saw what it was... But what did you just testify about the shooter? He said they were blind. Ah! Yet the crime scene itself contradicts itself. The killer had to be able to see. Why would they rub out the name in blood otherwise? May I remind the court the defendant, Machi Tobai, is blind. He couldn't have been the shooter. Impossible! Order! 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 Prosecutor Gavin, please explain to me what all this means. I mean, looking at this photo, it seems quite clear the shooter could see. Yet up until now, it seems I owe the court an apology. The Gaviners are a band with the law enforcement ties, yet a murder occurred. During our concert, apparently this caused some confusion over jurisdiction. As a report, some reports were not filed in an entirely timely manner. Not sure I like the vibe I'm getting here. Hey Paolo, look at him. Why is Prosecutor Gavin all relaxed and smiling like that? Like he knows something we don't. And he's about to tell us. I've got an idea. Let's rock! With these documents, but before that, I have a question for the detective. If I may? What? Tell me. Why do you think Machi Tobai is blind? Huh? What did he say? What are you saying? Of course he's blind. Of course. He's the blind pianist, right? So he's... Doesn't Landlord lead him around all by hand all the time? No way. I have a report here on the defendant, Machi Tobai. According to this, Machi Tobai can see perfectly well. What? His blindness was merely a publicity ploy by those clever Borginians. He could see quite well. But you said... What did I say exactly? Hey, forehead, not once in this course of this trial have I claimed the defendant was blind. The only one who did was the Fräulein detective. But that's a significant fact, yes. Consider, Machi Tobai sees, and he was the only one who could have fled to the air vent. I see no problems with this. Oops. Yes, the bullet holes. I believe Air Forehead neatly explained those for us. He didn't miss because he couldn't see. It was the kickback from the .45 caliber revolver. A simple accident, in other words. How's that? I'm afraid your objection has flown off for the brighter skies. This is where the real fun begins, Air Forehead. Ah! I knew you didn't have what it took. You jerk. Just what was I in here for? Comic relief? Yeah, apologize. I'm sorry. There was no way to apologize. Anger the truce now. Look out. We could please end the bickering now. Whatever, I'm not leaving. I can't leave like this. I'll come up with some clue for solving this crime if it kills me. But your testimony has already given us enough to convict the defendant. Doesn't say that. What? This bloodstain. The criminal tried to wipe it off, right? That seems to be what happened, yes. We might be able to find out what was really hidden in here. Really? You can do that? That's right, with this. It's called luminol. Maybe you know of it? It's a chemical that reacts with the blood. Oops. Ah yes, we have done these tests before, yet. Ha! As if I'm going to tell you. The blood stain covered a section of the carbon. In order to perform blood tests, that section was removed and submitted. Perhaps we should request it here in the court now. Oh, thank goodness we don't have to wait for the next day. Right, go for it, Apollo. Huh? I have to do the test? You just have to spray the luminol on it. Simple. Oh, it reacts to blood. I've heard of this somewhere before. Yes, I believe an analysis is called for. It was? Oh yeah, it was! It's been a long time since I played the first game. Ready? Easy as pie. Just touch the screen to view spraying area. Give it a try. The eyes of the entire court are focused on me. Apollo, your hand's shaking. Oh no. My sword. My sword. Dun 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 dun. IPXX3 14206. Wow, it really works. This must be the power of science. It says IPXX314206. Pi? Is the killer's name? Maybe it is, if the killer was a robot. Haha, I have it. So what is it? I thought those letters IPXX looked familiar. This is an Interpol ID number. Interpol? You mean the International Police Agency? Yes, most undercover agents working to solve international crimes. But why would he write that number? Why would Mr. Latas even know a number like that? Good show, Fräulein Detective. Rock on! Huh? Your Honor, we can verify the numbers immediately. Darian, are you there? Come up to the witness stand. Darren, you know, we heard what you know. Go check into this Interpol ID number. Sure thing. Give me 30 minutes. No, give me 27. I'm not sure what to think of all this. The prosecution's case is airtight, or so it seems. Yet if this number is really that of an Interpol agent... Oh wait, I know. What if Machi Tobai is really an undercover Interpol agent? That would be a possibility. A possibility, yes. And one that would mark him as the killer for certain. Why did Latos know an agent? Well, we have some time to wait Darian's report. Let's work on unraveling another mystery, shall we? A curious mystery concerning Miss Machi Tobai. What are you talking about? Fräulein Detective, please accept my apologies. I received word the defendant could, in fact, see just before the trial began. It seemed too much of a bother to tell you. You add me into that last bit. Does this not raise a rather straightforward question? Well, sure. Why did Machi pretend he couldn't see? Exactly, it makes little sense. Why do you think? Air forehead. Me? Machi Tobai pretended he was blind. Do you know why? How could he know? Wait, Prosecutor Gavin knows why, doesn't he? He's known from the start of this trial. He's been leading us on this whole time. Something wrong? Do you think perhaps this is all some kind of game? Know that the moment I heard that report, I knew why. His bosses told him to. There was a reason why Machi had pretended to be blind. But it wasn't for his own sake. Getting the picture now? It wasn't for himself? Mr. Justice? You present evidence that would... I guess I have evidence. Why? Is he thinking what I'm thinking? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Pierce, you've thought of something. Why can't I figure these things out on my own? I hate having to take my clues from this guy. Very well. Look at this. This is why he was pretending he couldn't see. Well, it's pretty obvious it's because of Lamorar. That is... Lamorar? Lamorar and Machi Tobai. Recall their relationship. In particular, the unique arrangement before the years before visiting our country. Lamorar and her pianist walked together, she leading him by the hand. Even when they got on stage, she would lead him to the piano. She would walk all the way over there with him. That's right, because he was blind. She led him at all times, never letting him go. At all times. Yet we have just learned something that makes their arrangement peculiar indeed. Machi could see. Why did they keep up this act the whole time? Wasn't it a part of their performance? I think there's a simpler explanation. Machi did not need to be led by the hand at all. That can only mean one thing. Ah! Really? Really. It was all the other way around. The one who needed to be led by the hand was Lamorar! What's this? So you mean to say Lamorar is... She's... Yes, Your Honor. Lamorar is blind. What? Order, order, order! This is crazy, Prosecutor Gavin. Is it now? Please, shed some sanity on this madness. The defense has made an outrageous claim. The only thing outrageous I see about his defense is his vast forehead. Yet I see it is not vast in vain this time. He's quite correct. But that makes no sense. Wasn't she supposed to be the landscape painter in sound or something? It did take quite a turn, since we have her here. Why not ask Lamorar herself? I believe she's still in the witness waiting room. Apollo, what does this mean for our case? Don't ask me, I had no idea she couldn't see. I hadn't even imagined it until now. Neither did I. Bailiff, bring in Lamorar! Lamorar, it pains me deeply to call you before us again this way, and yet I must. Please do not be concerned on my behalf. His eyes. She really can't see? Really? It is true. How funny it is that a tiny lie born in the Borgian genuine countryside would one day grow to entangle the entire world. So you are. Yes, as I mentioned before, I have no memory of the time before I became Lamorar. Know too that my memories begin in darkness. The world light has no meaning for Lamorar. I see. You may recall me saying something toward the beginning of this trial. What's that? I believe I said it was unfortunate this crime had no direct witness. Ah. Now, Lamorar, I must ask you to stand once more. Will you testify to the court about your eyes? Of course. It was never my intent to deceive any of you. May I begin, Your Honor? Yes, of course. Though I admit, I'm a little lost here. I think we're all a little bit lost here, Your Honor. Lamorar's eyes. I have no memory of the light. It debuted in a world of darkness and sound. My producer came up with the PR line before he knew this. So silly as it may sound, I had to pretend I could see. Everyone on my staff knew, of course, but no others. But this is a murder trial! I apologize, it was part of my contract, you see. I was to keep my blindness a secret, no matter what. Music is everything for me. I never imagined something like this would... She told us the truth in the beginning, when she said she saw nothing. Very well. Does the defense have anything to add? I'd like to cross-examine. But what is there left to ask? There was one thing in her testimony that bothered me. Perhaps it is best we let you get it out of your system. Someday you'll come to understand the importance of thinking for yourself. Very well, the defense may proceed. However, Be aware that this court will not tolerate any questions deemed too stressful to the witness. Okay. Only one part that bothered me. Let me ask about that and I'll be happy. The thing is, Minnie, your eyes can look perfectly fine and you can still not be blind. There's different degrees of blindness. I have no memory of the light. I debuted in a world of darkness and sound. A producer came up with the PR line before he knew this. So silly as it may sound, I had to pretend I could see. Everyone on my staff knew, of course, but no others. Would that mean, Machi knows? Of course he would. I don't know why I hit present, I meant press.
Hold it!
When you say your staff, you include Mr. Lataus? Of course, he was my manager. So he knew, and that's what's bugging me. Something the matter, Mr. Justice? I believe I know what is bothering our young defense attorney. You are thinking of when you discovered the body, yes? Is he right, Apollo? Yes, I was.
He's alive.
Tuss, can you hear me?
Cold, cold, so cold.
Witness! Don't worry, your number's fine. Help is on the way.
Can't see.
Hang in there. Tell me, who is the witness?
Witness is Siren.
Mr. Lataus told me to ask the witness, and he named you. Why would he do that? He knew you were blind. I don't know. What did I just say? You need to learn not to think for yourself. Meaning what? There is no mystery here if you recall everything he said. Think of his last words once more. The witness, Siren. We've heard them many times, along with a little play acting by our defense. I remember the one, but that statement is not to what I refer. I mean what he said before that. That's right, he tried to tell you. When he said can't see, he wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about the witness. See. Too bad the defense did not. Well, Air Forehead, try relaxing and looking at the facts first next time. Alright. Order, order! Recall Lamoureux's earlier testimony. I was on my way to the stage to the backstage exit. There were 2 shots. I couldn't do anything to stop it. But she couldn't have heard those gunshots. I thought we proved that. That is not the most important point here. The moment we heard he was shot, Mr. Lataus witnessed her through that window. Why else would he have named her as the witness? But I really did hear them. 2 gunshots. And the man's voice. Unfortunately, such a thing was impossible. The window was closed. We had already run a simulation, of course. But it was so clear. If I heard that voice again, I would know in an instant. Your Honor! What is it, bailiff? Can't you see we're in session here? We have the results back from the investigation. The investigation? Ah, the Interpol number that Mr. Lataus left us. Well, let's hear it. We will continue this cross-examination afterward. Detective Crescent, your report, please. I asked Interpol about that number. I'm sure you'll find their answer intriguing. Quick work as always, Darren. Well, tell us about the number. Is the defendant a secret agent? IPXX314206. The agent registered under this number was Romain Lataus. What? Our undercover Interpol agent was Mr. Lataus himself. He was apparently in the middle of an operation. So when he wrote those letters, he was trying to tell us his own identity. And a cautious killer tried to wipe them away. Mr. Lataus was an undercover Interpol agent. So him being Lamoureux's manager was just a cover, most likely. There's one other more important detail I found. Well, out with it. It concerns the .45 caliber rifle, the murder weapon. Apparently, it belonged to Romain Lataus. He had an Interpol permit to carry firearms, and the registration number on the revolver's matched. So the victim was killed with his own weapon, which makes sense. It's hard to imagine someone who wasn't an Interpol agent with such a large revolver. So the victim was an Interpol agent on an undercover op? I wonder how that ties in everything. It's gotta tie in somehow, you'd think. Yeah, somehow. Thanks for looking into that, Detective Crescent. It's a great help. Oh, no problem at all, Your Honor.
I'll be heading out.
Hold it! Wait! Labrador, is something the matter? That voice just now. Darren? Mr. Darren, is it? It was him, I am sure of it. It was him? You aren't saying... That voice I heard, talking about Mr. Litthouse. When I heard the gunshots fired, it was him. It was Mr. Darren. Is this some kind of joke?
What?
No way. The courtroom fell into a chaotic state. The trial had to be suspended temporarily. I've never seen that happen before. Of course, it's not every day that you get an accusation like that one. Labrador, fingering Darren Crescent. Not only is he the guitarist, he's a detective. Could it really have been his voice Labrador heard? Things were changing fast, and frankly, I wasn't sure I could keep up with it. Hey, no whipping out now, Apollo. To be continued. I think I will save the game, and we'll continue this tomorrow stream. We'll be streaming at about the same time. I might stream a little earlier, but I'll wait for everyone to show up. So thank you for coming. If you want to get updates, you go follow my Twitter. You want to support me, you go to my Patreon. You like the art I use for my icons and the other stuff in my and the icons. Go look at Sephi Fluff. He's also in the description. And have a nice day. Thank you all for coming.